So this is going to be part 2 of should you do genetic testing? Make sure you go view part 1 so you'll have some context. But I'll start off by summarizing a couple of things. So number 1, should you do genetic testing? My short answer was no, you shouldn't, because there's not much, there's beneficial information, but it's not actionable information. And so what I mean by that is, okay, you find out you have some gene mutations, then what? You go do the genetic testing, which are typically very expensive. They're either $500 to $1,000. Now there are companies that are bringing, I would say at least lower expensive, at least, and not as expensive test. But still, once you get the data, it tells you have a genetic mutation. Then what? But the answer to that question is the reason why I don't recommend people doing genetic testing right now. One that I summarized, just a summary, one of the big reasons is the safety of your genetic information. There is no data bank. There's no the data that's, I would say, storage area that is 100% secure. Everything is hackable, right? If someone wants to hack your data, they will be able to get your genetic information, and especially if it's the government. If the government wants it, they're going to get it, right? I'm not trying to talk about some conspiracy theory, but let's just think about what has happened over the past, especially actually post the pandemic. During the pandemic, there was a lot of information breach, like secure information that was breached, right? And so that just leads me to believe that none of our information, I just have to assume that none of my information is going to be ever 100% secure. Can it be 99% secure? Yes, but 100%, it's probably not 100% secure. So that means somebody can get my genetic information, and if they were to want to create a genetically modified virus to attack my genes, they would be. If they wanted to kill me, they would, right? But again, this is not about all these, ifs and whats. So I'll just leave it at that. So main reason. Second reason that I don't recommend genetic testing is because there is no solution. So you have gene mutations. What are you going to do about it? Can people go in and repair those mutations? No, technology can't do that right now. So until we get to that time, that which I think is coming probably the next 10 years, that's science and medicine, not medicine, but science will be able to go in and clip, right, and repair those mutations, and then we can live forever, right, with no disease, and we can eat forever. Then until we get there, then yes, genetic testing will be good. But right now, genetic testing, there's no benefit, because again, what is the solution? You go to anybody, any physician, any practitioner, functional medicine practitioner, holistic practitioner, it doesn't matter. You ask them, the ones that promote genetic testing, ask them, what's the solution? Once you get the results, what are the solution options? Number 1, can you reverse my genetics? If I have, and one of the genetics that I was talking about was Alzheimer's, right? So dementia, Alzheimer's. Dementia is just a broad category. Alzheimer's is actually a diagnosis. It's a label they put on you. So you have Alzheimer's in your genes, in your family history, right? So you ask that practitioner who's recommending the $1,000 genetic testing, what can you do about it? What can you do about it? Now I have that genetic mutation. What can you do about it? Can you reverse it? And then your answer, if they're ethical, is they should be saying no, they can't reverse it. So if you can't reverse it, the next question is, what are you going to do? What can you do about it? What was the purpose of doing this genetic testing? You can't reverse it. What can you do about it? And what's the solutions? Right? I'm going to tell you, the 2 solutions are supplements, medication, or injections. That's the typical. You go to any person that does that. Yeah, they'll help you with your diet, but majority of their recommendation is going to be a pill or an injection. And the pill can be a medication, or it can be, a lot of times, it's a bucket full of supplements. So Now, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's wrong. Okay. Many people have been helped through that type of treatment. The question you need to ask yourself, is that your solution? Is that a solution that's acceptable to you? Because here's the thing. They're going to tell you, number one, genetic mutations are not reversible. Okay. So you give me all these pills, right? So the question you should be asking them is this. No, I would ask myself. You don't need to ask them. This is what I would ask. I would ask them, so does that mean I have to be on this bucket full of supplements, bucket full of pills for the rest of my life? Do I need to come to you for medication and injections for the rest of my life? Because you just said my genes are not reversible. That whatever genetic mutation is not reversible. So does that mean I have to be taking these supplements and pills and injections and medication for the rest of my life? That's the question you should ask them, right? I don't know what they're going to tell you, but if I'm just using logic, if something is not reversible and you're giving me something to maintain it, maybe slow it down a little, maybe, right? But you give me something to maintain it. Logic means, just thinking common sense, I'm going to have to be taking these for the rest of my life, right? Now, so that's the next question you have to ask yourself. Are you going to be comfortable taking a bucket full of supplements for the rest of your life? If you are, great. Highly recommend you go get genetic testing and have that and do those solutions, right? So that's the summary of what I was talking about. But I also, this last part, this is the last part of this podcast series in regards to should you do genetic testing. I wanted to share also some, and I hate this word, research, because it can be so manipulated, but I can't find another word for research, so I'm just going to use the word research. And so there was a physician called, I'm looking down because I'm reading this, Dean Ornish. He's a physician, founder and president of Preventative Medicine Research Institute. He's a clinical professor of medicine, University of California, San Francisco. And so what he said, I thought was pretty interesting, right? This is what he said, that there may be a way to lengthen your telomeres. Okay, so these are just part of your genes. Okay, now your chromosomes. Now I know it's not just tanging off a little topic, but it has to do with your genetic testing, right? So the telomeres can be lengthened, is what he's saying. The longer your telomeres, which are your chromosomes, we have the XY chromosomes, right? The longer your telomeres are, the longer you will live. And that can be affected by, his latest research said, diet and lifestyle, not just diet, lifestyle. Diet and lifestyle changes can increase the length of your telomeres, which are your chromosomes, which can help you. The longer your telomeres are, the longer you live, the longer your lifespan. So maybe some of that testing could be beneficial. But again, that's more of a progress, right? You can check, because here's the thing that I like to do is with our patients in my clinic in Cedar Park, Texas, we like to, myself and my providers and my whole team, we like to share our thinking process so that our patients understand what we're thinking about, okay? So that we're not lecturing them. We're not telling them, oh, I'm the practitioner, you need to listen to what I say, right? No, this is a partnership. So what we do in our team is we are just a guide, kind of like, we're just a guide, like you have a map, you're going to go to a new location, a new hiking trail, you have a guide, right? We're that guide. And so we don't make decisions for you. We just help guide you and ask you the questions for you to think to help you make a decision for yourself. And so we also tell you about why you should go on this path, why you should go on that path, and so forth, right? So if you want to, based on Dr. Dean Ornish, Ornish, his latest research found that the length of your telomeres can predict the length of your life, and that you can increase the length of your telomeres by diet and lifestyle. Okay, so that could be, you could do a diet and lifestyle change and go have the length of your telomeres measured. I'm not sure exactly how to do that. I need to go research that. Okay. I am not a physician. I forgot to give you that disclaimer, because I know there will be people trying to argue with me. And I'm not trying to argue with anybody. I'm just sharing what I have learned, my experience, and with patients, of thousands of patients, actual live experiments, test cases, not done in a laboratory, right? That's a whole nother story. So I'm not a physician. I don't prescribe medications. I'm not trained to prescribe medications. I'm not trained to do surgery. What I'm trained in is what I call restorative longevity. Just different from longevity. And I'll be doing a podcast about that later. But I am trained in restorative longevity, which means I help you restore your organ functions. My team helps you restore your organ functions so that you can live a longer life, but a higher quality longer life, not in a wheelchair. Okay. So another thing that I want to share, come back to genetic testing. Genetic testing, most people think, especially with Alzheimer's, right? Just brain cognition, you're just losing your mind. You're losing your mind. Most people think that it is due to genetics. Oh, if I have genes that show that I'm going to be prone to Alzheimer's, I'm going to get it, right? And so one of the research, I was trying to pick up another research. I don't like to use the word research, but that's the only word. A scientist, Lisa Mosconi, she's an associate director, Alzheimer's Prevention Clinic. Okay, the first Alzheimer's prevention. Most clinics are Alzheimer's treatment. Hers is Alzheimer's prevention. What she found that most people think Alzheimer's is due to your genetics, your genes, and your age, like it's the natural aging process, right? Her and her team found that to be wrong, inaccurate. Okay, so if you think that your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, your mother got Alzheimer's or some type of dementia, you think you're gonna get it? If you keep thinking you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it, obviously, because you're wishing it on yourself. But if you think just because you're getting older and you have genes that are prone to Alzheimer's, you think you're gonna get it? That's wrong, right? And also Lisa Mosconi, Dr. Mosconi, she also mentions that Alzheimer's doesn't show up. Like, we don't start seeing the symptoms of Alzheimer's, for those of people who have Alzheimer's, until 40 years after you started damaging your brain, right? That's why she says genetics and the old aging is not. Could you be more prone to developing a dementia? Absolutely. But does that guarantee you will? No, it won't. Right? Same thing with people, and I hear this a lot, people that come to our clinic and they have a family history of high cholesterol, disease, diabetes, what else? High blood pressure, and they're like, oh, I got this because my parents had it. That's a bunch of BS. Okay? Now, if you agree with that and you're okay with managing it with medication, that's your decision. And I apologize. I'm not saying you're BS, okay? That's not what I'm saying. Because if that's what you value, then that's important to you, that you want to manage it with medications, then that is the right thing for you. But for what I'm saying BS is how the medical community in general is giving people a death sentence, saying, if your parents got diabetes, you're going to get diabetes. And they just give that death sentence to people. That's what I mean about BS. So just want to clarify that. I'm not calling you the patient BS, right? I think just there's such a misinformation out there. So just because genetically you are prone, you may do genetic testing and you may have, diabetes, all these mutations. That does not mean you will get those labels, those diseases, so to speak. Okay. Now, again, it's your choice. So I'm going to be talking to those of you who choose not to believe that genetics dictates your life expectancy and your life diseases and your life quality. Okay. I'm talking to you people. Okay. So that's the great news. Genetics does not dictate those. Diet, lifestyle, and I'll be sharing more about what are the things. It's not just diet. Everybody just focus on diet and exercise. Diet and exercise are crucial, but they're only two parts of a bigger system. a bigger system for restorative longevity. Okay, so but I wanted to share with you in this podcast that genetic testing does not help you in the sense of finding a solution, because the solution, is not going to come from genetic testing. So it also want to, and I know I'm repeating this, and some people are going to complain about, man, he's just saying the same thing, a bunch of nonsense, just repeating the same thing over and over. And you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm doing this because I want people to hear, and I don't want people to just, if I just say it once, you're not really going to remember it. But if I say it over and over like a broken record, maybe you will hear this, right? If you have gene mutations, that is not a life sentence. That's one thing I wanted to repeat to you. You can change the way genes are expressed. So genes, there are dormant genes and there's genes that get expressed. So let me just make this simple so everybody can understand. Dormant genes are basically genes that are sitting there, but they're not doing anything yet. Right. Expressed means they're active. So let's just say inactive genes versus active genes. Okay. What dictates, what controls what your genes do? How do you make your genes become active from being inactive? Lifestyle, diet, nutrition. Okay. Lifestyle covers a whole lot of categories, but all of those can activate your genes, and they can also inactivate certain genes, like the genes that diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Okay, this is not my opinion. Okay, again, this is the opinion of people who have helped other people achieve a certain result. Now, I don't want to debate research, because there's research that will argue both sides of the story. That's not what I'm trying to do here. And again, I have a podcast on how to determine research, how to get really credible information, right? So my information is based off of physical people. It's not done in the laboratory. Some of these are done in the labs, but see, when people are arguing, I've seen physicians argue all the time about, but this lab shows this, and this lab, this scientific experiment, this double-blinded study showed this, and then the other physician says, but my double-blind study shows this, and then it's just like contradicting. There are always contradicting experiments. Doesn't matter if it's double-blinded. Okay, it depends on who pays for the experiment. So I'm not talking about those experiments. Those are done in a test tube, right? Now, what I'm talking about is real life experiments. People who have lived the life, still alive, showed us, right? And it's not just one person's community. I've talked about this before, the blue zones. The blue zones community, there's 5 blue zones identified so far around the world. Those people proved, those are the real experiments. Because when you do an experiment in a laboratory, even if it's for people, it's in a controlled environment. Let me ask you this question. How many of those people do you think live in that controlled environment when they go home? How many? None of them. Look at the world. The world is not a controlled environment. It is full of chaos. So the best, I would say, laboratory to do the experiments is the whole world, right? Now, of course, that's not scientific because there's too many variables, but that's my point. There's so many variables out there, out in the world, that when you do a test in the laboratory and you remove variables in order to prove a certain point, that is not comparing apples to apples, right? And for those of you who don't know, my original background is a biochemist, so I did lots of experiments in a controlled environment. That's what I was trained to do. So I'm speaking from experience, right? So my point is, the best laboratory is the world. When you have all this chaos, all these variables flying at you, and then you do these modifications in your life, and then you track over time. So what better people than to look at than the people that that are over 100 years old. They have lived through all the chaos, so many wars, right? What have they done? They didn't have genetic testing. They didn't say, let me go look at my genetic test, and then I'll do some changes. They didn't do any of that. So hopefully I've beaten this, beaten this to that it's dead, right? So back to the question: is genetic testing, in my opinion, I'm not saying don't do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying if your solution is to find something that can help you restore your body's God-given ability to heal itself, genetic testing ain't going to give you that data. If you're looking for a life where you're not dependent upon medication, injections, a buttload of supplements, if that's what your goal is, genetic testing ain't going to do much for you. All right, guys. So hopefully this was helpful. And feel free to comment, ask questions, right? There's probably going to be some haters. Haters, hate. Go ahead and hate below. Just keep it. We're all human beings. I'm not telling you what to do. Don't attack other people, right? Everybody has the right to their own opinion. And your opinion is your opinion, and you are right in your opinion, but it doesn't make another person's opinion wrong. So again, if I made you feel that way, I apologize for anybody that's watching. I'm not saying, even the physicians and the functional medicine practitioners that are all 100% into genetic testing, I'm not saying they're bad and they're wrong people and they're bad people. That's not what I'm saying. And I apologize if I made it appeared to have done that. So I apologize. Please forgive me for that. That's not. I just want to give information from I want to give people the other pieces of the puzzle that they may not hear from other people, from other practitioners. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and see you at the next episode.